Hello everybody, this is a game of League Play, Yemen Hardpoint, where I go 40 and 14. I have a pretty good game, I thought I'd upload it, bit of commentary. I finally made it into Masters, I was pretty pleased with that. It's a lot tougher in there, a lot of people sweat it up and play quite a bit. But I don't really want to talk about COD or anything like that, I just want to talk about something that was a big part of my life in 2012. When I had a drug-induced psychosis, I took something called DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine or something like that. One of the world's most powerful hallucinogens, and considering I hadn't done any kind of trips or shrooms or anything like that, it was quite overwhelming for me. And I ended up having a drug-induced psychosis. I spent a month in hospital, and it was quite a life. It was quite a big part of my life, and it still is. Like, there's a lot of things that I can't get my head around, a lot of things that I'll hold on to, and I don't really understand or know why these things were said. But Google defines psychosis as a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that contact is lost with external reality. Now, I would vouch for that. I would say some of the time I was thinking that people could hear my thoughts, but it wasn't in a paranoid sort of way. It was more like I sort of think you can hear my thoughts to make things easier, like telepathy and things like that. And funnily enough, when I was in hospital, someone actually said they could hear my thoughts, which I kind of just accepted. I don't know why. I was a bit I was unwell at the time, and I actually tried to see if it worked, because I moved wings in the hospital, and the guy that said it was across. I could see him when I was in my new room, and I was thinking really hard, turn around, and of course he didn't. But other things, like I had two mini breakdowns late in 2013. One was due to going out clubbing, doing some MDMA, lack of sleep. That really doesn't help. I mean, that's probably the worst thing if you've got a mental disorder, is to have a lack of sleep, because the mind doesn't get time to sort of rejuvenate, I suppose, and it's not good. I can vouch for that myself. But what I'd really like to do is, the reason I'm doing this is because I'd like to help people who had similar troubles to me, maybe talk to people who do, because it's one of those sort of things. Mental illnesses, it's not many people really know much about them. Even the doctors are sort of guessing when they're using drugs. They guess at it, and it's trial and error work, because not everything works for everyone. For example, the medication I'm on is for bulimia, sleeping disorders, and mental disorder or something like that. So that one's pretty general. I find that I end up sleeping quite a lot, which really annoys me. When I stopped taking it, I'd wake up at sort of 8 o'clock, which is quite a good time. But on the downside, I'd feel really sick and nauseous, and that comes from taking the drug so long that the body gets used to it. And I've never really liked being on any kind of prescription drugs, because I think it sort of weakens your immune system, and it's one of those things. I did stop taking it, and 6-7 months later I found myself psychosing again due to lack of sleep, overindulgence in smoking weed and things like that. It's all things that I've learnt from, and it's not easy. Anyone who suffers from anxiety or depression and things like that, not a lot of people will understand you, and that's one of the worst things. But I remember when I was in hospital, there was a Chinese nurse, and she was the first person who said, "I don't think you're crazy," and that meant a lot to me at the time. I said to her, everyone thinks I'm crazy, like, but I couldn't have done it without my family. I mean, they were coming in virtually every day, and like, I'm really grateful for that. I've got a fantastic supportive family, and I love them to pieces. I mean, I was in there with people who weren't getting visitors, and I don't know, when I was there at first I thought that I could help them in some sort of way. Like, I didn't accept the fact that I was there for a reason, but I remember as well, I was in a what would you call it, a ward or a bed or whatever, and I ended up pulling down the clock at the time and saying time is irrelevant. I had an obsession with time being irrelevant, because when I did DMT, it was sort of like a 15-minute trip, but it felt like a lifetime, and you sort of go through this tunnel. It's like a time tunnel in a way, and at the time it felt like unlocking a phone, like taking that once sort of unlocked and just opened up my mind in a way. I don't know, it's hard to explain because of how I was thinking at the time. Like, I was very all over the place. I mean, I remember being out and about like 2-3 in the morning, and then a police car came out of nowhere. Like, it was like Harry Potter, where the bus comes out and they go onto it or whatever. And at the time I was wearing my sort of, I've got a jumper that my mum knitted me, and it's got like all different colours. It's like the Technicolor Dreamcoat sort of thing, and I was wearing that at the time. I looked very weird, like walking around at 3 in the morning with like this Technicolor Dreamcoat on. And police stopped me and said sort of like, what are you doing around here, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, nothing, I'm just going for a walk. And I don't know, that was another thing. I was like, go for walks randomly, not really walking anywhere, just walking about. I was under the impression that I was a wolf as well. That was a bit crazy. I mean, even in like psychiatrist sessions, you don't really talk. I mean, they'll ask you the same questions over and over again, is which I've found, and I don't know, you don't really open up. I mean, they try and pinpoint what's affected you in your life and things like that. They like with me, they were like doing a family tree and figuring out like people's deaths and things like that affected me. But essentially, it's very hard to pinpoint an exact point in your life that would have messed you up. Well, it was obviously the drugs on my point, on my part even. But I don't know, it does get better. There is help out there, although from what I've heard they are trying to cut it, unfortunately. I had a fantastic time in hospital for being in hospital. I mean, not like, oh, it was great I was being there, but to be fair, I did have sort of 4 square meals a day and even some snacks and things like that. But I couldn't do it again. I was bored out of my mind. I'd end up writing. I might read some of my writings because I wrote a bit of poetry and things like that. I had an obsession with things rhyming, but I'll leave it at that. That was the gameplay, and thank you for watching.